A human engineer inherits a colossal starship. The moment he boards shocks him. The trade hub of Orion's cross floated silently in the void, a cluster of metal and glass suspended between two dying stars. Its corridors buzzed with the sounds of life, aliens haggling over rare minerals, traders shouting prices in sharp alien tones, and the distant hum of ships docking or leaving. The station smelled of hot metal, recycled air, and something faintly sweet that Adrian Cole could not identify. He had been here before, repairing small engines and machines for low-paying clients, but today felt different. Adrian moved slowly along the crowded corridors, carrying his worn toolkit in a battered case. His dark eyes scanned the crowds, mostly ignoring the stares and whispered comments of alien passers-by. Humans were not common here, and when they appeared, they were often underestimated, laughed at, or ignored. Adrian had learned long ago to keep his head down, to avoid drawing attention. He was just another human trying to survive, one repair job at a time. But the comm link in his pocket beeped, breaking his routine. He glanced at it, frowning. The message had no sender ID, only a secure transmission code that required a personal encryption key. Curious and cautious, Adrian activated it. The screen flickered, revealing a holographic seal that shimmered like liquid silver. A calm, measured voice filled the small space around him. Adrian Cole, you have inherited a vessel. Registration unknown. Location uncharted sector Z47. Ownership transferred according to family will. Boarding instructions enclosed. Adrian froze. Inherited a vessel? He had no family, no wealth, no connections that could explain this. Most importantly, he had no idea what kind of ship it could be. A simple cargo shuttle, maybe? That seemed impossible given the tone of the message. He stared at the hologram, heart thumping in disbelief. Is this real? He muttered to himself. The message ended abruptly, leaving him with coordinates and an access key. His mind raced. Who could have left him a ship? And why now, after all these years of scraping by on small jobs? He tried to shake the unease that gripped him, telling himself that curiosity was part of being an engineer. By the time he reached the docking bay assigned in the coordinates, the sun of the nearby star had dipped behind the station, casting long shadows across the metal floors. There it was, a ship unlike anything Adrian had ever seen. It hovered silently, massive in scale, bigger than any freighter or battle cruiser he had glimpsed from afar. Its hull was dark, almost liquid in its texture, and faint lights traced along ridges and seams in intricate patterns that seemed alive. Adrian's breath caught. The ship was breathtaking. Its design was alien, elegant, and terrifying. It did not look like a human-made machine. It looked as though it had grown from the void itself, a living organism of metal and energy. He approached it slowly, careful not to make a mistake. The docking ramp extended without a sound. Adrian stepped onto it, feeling the vibrations of the ship as it reacted to his presence. The metal beneath his feet hummed softly, almost like a heartbeat. He blinked. "Okay," he whispered. "This is not normal." The interior of the ship was even more astonishing. Corridors stretched beyond sight, curving and folding in ways that made his mind struggle to comprehend. Lights pulsed softly along the walls, synchronized with the faint hum he felt in the floor. Every surface seemed responsive, almost aware of his movements. The air smelled faintly of ozone and something sweet, like a forest after rain, a scent that was impossible in a metal ship, but somehow comforting. He wandered cautiously, his tools in hand, eyes scanning panels and consoles filled with alien symbols. His heart raced as he tried to make sense of it all. These systems were advanced, far beyond human technology, yet there was a strange logic to them that made sense to him. It was as if the ship expected him to understand, waiting for him to connect with it. When he reached the central control chamber, the ship revealed itself fully. A holographic form appeared before him, shifting in fluid motions. It was not a being in the traditional sense. No face, no limbs, but a presence, a consciousness. The lights around the room pulsed in patterns that made his stomach flutter with a strange mix of fear and excitement. Adrian froze. The ship's presence filled his mind not with words, but with images and emotions. He saw stars and planets, vast fleets of alien vessels, and cities of beings that looked nothing like humans. He felt the weight of knowledge, as if the ship was showing him the galaxy in a single heartbeat. Then he saw humans, small, scattered, underestimated, struggling to survive. And yet the ship's emotions toward them were not pity. They were expectation, hope. He stumbled backward, overwhelmed. You're alive, he said, almost to himself. The ship responded with a pulse of light, almost like a nod. It was not conscious in the way humans were, but it was aware, and it had chosen him. Questions swirled in Adrian's mind. Why him? Why now? Was this a trap? His instincts as an engineer pushed him forward, analyzing, connecting, testing. Every console he touched seemed to respond to his thoughts. Every system he activated felt like unlocking a piece of a puzzle meant for him alone. As he explored, he discovered that the ship was enormous, much larger than it appeared from the outside. Chambers for engines, living spaces, cargo bays, and what appeared to be laboratories stretched across kilometers of interior. Each room was sophisticated yet strangely empty, as if waiting for a crew, or waiting for him. Hours passed like minutes. Adrian lost track of time, consumed by awe and curiosity. He touched a control panel, and the ship responded with the holographic display of the galaxy. It showed clusters of stars, alien territories, and human settlements hidden in places no one had thought to look. The images shifted rapidly, showing him paths and systems humans had never explored. This can't be mine," Adrian murmured. Yet every instinct told him that it was. The ship had accepted him, chosen him, and now it was revealing its secrets. The first test came unexpectedly. As he walked toward a larger console, the ship pulsed sharply, and a warning flashed across the holographic displays. Adrian realized that sensors had detected a fleet moving toward the sector, a group of alien ships perhaps curious about the sudden activation of this vessel. He froze, heart pounding. He had no weapons, no knowledge of combat on this scale, just him and the ship. And yet somehow the vessel seemed calm, almost confident. Its lights pulsed rhythmically, guiding him to a set of controls that no manual could have explained. His hands moved instinctively, connecting systems, activating shields, and powering engines. The hum beneath his feet grew stronger, more alive. Adrian realized something astounding. The ship was teaching him. It did not need words. Its intelligence, its awareness, was a tutor. And he was the student. The thought thrilled and terrified him. Hours turned into a cycle of discovery. Adrian learned to walk through sections of the ship that bent physics, corridors that folded space, and rooms that seemed to change size based on his presence. He activated consoles that communicated in bursts of light and energy, conveying information faster than words could describe. He could feel the ship's curiosity, its assessment of him, and its subtle guidance. By the time he paused to rest, Adrian had a sense of the ship's scale and power, but only a glimpse. He was not just a passenger. He was its partner, its interface, and perhaps its caretaker. And in this moment, he understood the gravity of what had happened. Humans were small, fragile, underestimated across the galaxy, but here he was, alone in a vessel that could challenge worlds, and it had chosen a human. Adrian sat in the control chamber, eyes wide, hands trembling slightly. Outside the hull, the alien fleet grew closer, visible as tiny specks of light. And yet, inside the ship he felt an unspoken confidence, a silent promise that he was not helpless. He had inherited more than a ship. He had inherited a galaxy of possibilities, knowledge, and power. And for the first time in his life, Adrian Cole felt that humans, his species, might truly have a place among the stars. The last thing he saw before the lights dimmed for rest cycles was a projection of a distant human colony, hidden in an uncharted system. The ship pulsed softly, as if emphasizing the point. This was just the beginning. Adrian leaned back, heart racing, a mixture of fear, excitement, and awe swirling in his chest. The galaxy had underestimated humans, as always. But now, with a living starship at his command, he felt that perhaps the tide was about to turn. And somewhere deep within the ship, a pulse of light seemed to echo his own heartbeat. The pulse of the ship hummed softly beneath Adrian's feet as he stepped into the main corridor, following the faint glow of the walls. Every time he moved, the ship seemed to respond, lights shifting and bending as if acknowledging his presence. He had spent hours learning the layout, yet he knew he had barely scratched the surface. Every turn led to new mysteries, chambers that extended farther than they should, engines that hummed with strange energy, and consoles that displayed patterns he could feel rather than read. Adrian paused at a console that appeared to monitor nearby space. He leaned forward, scanning the display. At first, everything looked empty. Then he noticed the faint blips moving toward them. Alien ships, dozens of them, advancing cautiously. Adrian's pulse quickened. He had expected the inheritance to be strange, powerful even, but he had not imagined immediate danger. "Okay, think," he muttered, his fingers dancing over the controls. The ship pulsed in response, almost impatiently. It wanted him to act, not panic. The lights along the corridors flickered rhythmically, guiding him to the defensive systems. Adrian had no manual, no instructions, only instinct, and the ship's subtle suggestions. He activated a panel that responded to thought rather than touch. A holographic display unfolded, showing energy flows, shield matrices, and propulsion systems. Adrian realized the ship's defenses were dormant, waiting for someone to awaken them. He focused on redirecting power to shields while simultaneously activating defensive arrays. It felt strange, unnatural even, but his human intuition, his ability to improvise, adapt, and think in unpredictable ways, seemed to resonate with the ship. The alien fleet continued to advance, scanning the massive vessel. Their ships were sleek, sharp-edged, designed for speed and intimidation, but none of them had anticipated that a human could awaken the full potential of this starship in moments. As Adrian worked, the ship responded with small pulses of light, almost like encouragement. He realized it was learning with him, adapting to his thought patterns and refining its responses. For the first time, Adrian understood that the vessel was more than metal and circuits. It was intelligent, alive, and it trusted him. The aliens fired a warning pulse, a beam of energy that brushed the outer hull. The ship vibrated, almost recoiling as the energy hit. Adrian's instincts kicked in. He redirected power to the shields, feeling the hum of energy coursing through the vessel. Then, without fully understanding how, he triggered a countermeasure, a field of refracted light and energy that distorted the attacking fleet's sensors. The aliens were momentarily blinded, their formation breaking apart. Adrian breathed heavily. He had just defended himself and the ship with only instinct and the guidance of a vessel that seemed to anticipate his thoughts. The realization was both terrifying and exhilarating. He was a human, a species often dismissed as weak and fragile, and yet here he was, commanding a ship that could outmatch fleets. Hours passed as he continued to explore. The ship guided him deeper into its core, revealing sections that seemed almost organic in design. He entered a chamber filled with crystalline structures, glowing softly. The walls pulsed with energy, reacting to his presence. Adrian ran his hands along the crystals, feeling vibrations that conveyed data directly into his mind. He saw star maps, hidden routes, and the faint outlines of civilizations humans had long forgotten. The ship was showing him secrets meant for a species capable of thinking like humans. Curiosity pushed him further. He activated a navigation console that displayed the surrounding galaxy in incredible detail. Star systems, asteroid fields, and alien colonies filled the display. And then he saw it. A cluster of human settlements, long hidden and uncontacted. Some were small mining colonies, others research outposts, all surviving in isolation. The ship pulsed insistently, drawing his attention to them. It wanted him to know. Adrian realized the magnitude of what he had inherited. This was no ordinary vessel. It was a repository of knowledge, a guardian of human potential in a galaxy that had long underestimated them. He felt a surge of pride and responsibility. Humans might be dismissed by alien empires, but this ship had chosen a human engineer to wield its power, and perhaps to protect humanity itself. His focus returned to the immediate threat. The alien fleet had regrouped, now observing him cautiously. They were testing, probing, trying to understand why a human was in command of a vessel beyond their comprehension. Adrian knew he had only one advantage: unpredictability. The aliens relied on brute force, discipline, and predictable tactics. Humans, by contrast, could improvise, adapt, think differently. He initiated a series of maneuvers that seemed reckless at first glance. The ship's massive engines shifted, creating a gravitational ripple that disoriented the fleet. He redirected energy to defensive arrays in patterns the aliens could not anticipate. Each move was guided by instinct, improvisation, and the subtle hints from the ship. The aliens fired repeatedly, yet none of their attacks penetrated the defenses. Adrian felt exhilaration mixed with awe. He was doing what no alien could imagine a human could do. Hours turned into a blur as he tested the ship's capabilities. He discovered sections of the vessel that could manipulate gravity, bend light, and even create temporary folds in space. Each discovery amazed him, yet he knew the ship had much more to reveal. It was teaching him, responding to his actions, and preparing him for something far greater than any immediate threat. At one point he entered a chamber filled with strange machines and alien artifacts. He ran his hands over panels that hummed with energy, unlocking functions he could not fully understand. A holographic projection appeared, showing vast fleets of ships, battle plans, and alien civilizations in conflict. Adrian realized the ship had been designed for strategy, not just travel. It could outthink entire armadas. And it had chosen a human to interface with it. For the first time he understood the truth. Humans were underestimated, not because they were weak, but because no one expected them to combine ingenuity, intuition, and courage in ways predictable species could not. The ship's choice was deliberate. It saw potential in him, and by extension, humanity. As he continued exploring, he discovered a smaller chamber labeled simply with a symbol he could not recognize. Inside were storage units filled with tools, spare components, and devices that seemed almost alive. He picked up one of the devices and it activated in his hand, analyzing him and adjusting itself to his physiology. The ship's presence pulsed nearby, almost like a nod of approval. Suddenly a warning alert flashed across the central console. The alien fleet had escalated its attack. Adrian's heart pounded, but the ship's guidance was clear. He initiated a series of defensive maneuvers, weaving through the void with precision and strategy that seemed impossible. He directed energy to shields, weapons, and engines simultaneously, all while monitoring the aliens' reactions. The aliens fired in frustration, realizing their conventional tactics were useless. Adrian's improvisation, combined with the ship's responsiveness, created a synergy they could not predict. One by one, their ships were forced to retreat, unable to penetrate the defenses of a human-controlled vessel. Adrian sank into a chair, exhausted but elated. He had survived the first test. More importantly, he had realized something profound. Humans could do the impossible when given the right tools and freedom to think beyond conventional limits. The galaxy might have dismissed them for centuries, but the ship had chosen a human to prove otherwise. As the ship hummed quietly, lights pulsing in a soft rhythm, Adrian felt a connection deeper than he could explain. It was not just a machine, not just a tool. It was alive, aware, and it had recognized his potential. Together, they could explore, defend, and perhaps even reshape the galaxy's perception of humanity. Hours later, Adrian explored a section of the ship that seemed to fold space in ways his mind struggled to comprehend. The corridors twisted and turned, stretching farther than the eye could see, yet he moved with ease. The ship guided him, its presence almost like a mentor, teaching him through experience rather than words. He paused at a large viewing window, staring at the stars beyond. The alien fleet had retreated, but their presence lingered in his mind as a reminder that the galaxy would not ignore him, or the ship, for long. He knew that new challenges awaited, greater threats that would test both his skill and the ship's power. Yet for the first time, Adrian felt confident. He was no longer just a human engineer struggling to survive. He was the master of a colossal starship, a human mind paired with a living thinking vessel capable of astonishing feats. And the galaxy, full of civilizations that had dismissed humanity for centuries, would soon learn that humans could rise to heights no one had imagined. He leaned back, hands resting on the console, and allowed himself a rare moment of wonder. The ship pulsed gently, as if acknowledging his thoughts. Somewhere deep in its systems, a silent promise echoed. This was only the beginning. Adrian Cole had inherited more than a vessel. He had inherited a destiny. The nebula stretched before Adrian like a storm frozen in space. Clouds of gas glowed faintly in colors he had no names for, twisting and folding in ways that seemed impossible. The alien fleet had retreated, but the warning lingered. He knew they would return, more prepared and more determined. For now, though, the ship guided him forward. Its corridors pulsed with energy, almost eager to reach this uncharted region. The ship was alive, but what secrets did it hold here? He entered the navigation chamber, a circular room with a floor that seemed to ripple beneath his feet. Holographic projections displayed star systems, alien territories, and hidden human colonies. One projection caught his eye, a cluster of symbols pulsing with light, marking a section of the nebula itself. The ship pulsed, drawing him closer. "This is it," Adrian whispered. "Whatever you want to show me, it's here." The ship responded with a subtle vibration, almost like a nod. As he guided the vessel into the heart of the nebula, sensors detected anomalies, ancient relics of alien civilizations, hidden energy cores, and structures that seemed older than any record he had seen. The ship's pulse grew faster, almost urgent, as if it were thrilled to show him these secrets. Adrian's eyes widened. The vessel was not just a starship, it was a vault. A library of knowledge, strategy, and technology collected over millennia. Holographic interfaces displayed fleets, battle formations, and defensive strategies. He could see entire civilizations rise and fall, their mistakes and victories mapped in glowing lines of energy. As he explored deeper, he entered a chamber filled with crystalline structures and alien devices. The walls hummed, resonating with his presence. Adrian reached out, touching one of the crystals. Instantly, his mind filled with images, alien cities, energy patterns, and weapons so advanced that he could barely comprehend them. But there was more. He saw humans, small, scattered, underestimated, but performing acts of creativity and courage that no alien could predict. The ship pulsed in recognition, showing him that humans had potential the galaxy had ignored for centuries. Adrian's heart raced. He realized that the ship had been waiting for someone like him, someone capable of combining ingenuity, intuition, and courage. And now, it had chosen him. Suddenly, the ship vibrated violently. Sensors flared red. Adrian spun toward the console. A fleet of alien ships had entered the nebula, moving with precision and intent. They had tracked him, following the trail of a vessel no one thought a human could control. His pulse quickened, but panic did not take hold. The ship was alive, aware, and it had guided him here for a reason. "All right," he muttered. "Let's see what we can do." He activated a defensive array, redirecting energy to shields and engines. The alien fleet fired, but the ship responded instantly, bending light and energy to create distortions. Their sensors were confused, their attacks misaligned. Adrian began to understand the true power of the vessel. It did not just respond to commands, it thought strategically, adapting to threats in ways that no predictable mind could. He maneuvered the ship through the nebula, using the environment itself as a weapon. Clouds of gas were ionized to create blinding flashes, energy fields were manipulated to form traps, and gravitational distortions shifted the aliens' formations. Each move required ingenuity, timing, and courage, and humans had plenty of all three. The aliens adapted, but Adrian adapted faster. He began combining his own logic with the ship's intelligence, improvising strategies in real time. The synergy was unlike anything he had ever imagined. Where aliens relied on brute force, predictability, and patterns, he relied on creativity and intuition, traits the ship seemed to recognize and enhance. Hours passed in a blur of maneuvers, energy pulses, and tactical thinking. Adrian discovered that the ship could not only defend itself but also manipulate energy to create temporary folds in space. These folds allowed him to move instantly across sections of the nebula, striking and retreating before the aliens could respond. His mind raced as he experimented, discovering new ways to leverage the ship's power. Finally, he reached a hidden structure within the nebula, an enormous alien archive, older than most civilizations in this part of the galaxy. The ship pulsed with excitement, guiding him to its entrance. Adrian realized that this was what the vessel had led him here to discover, a treasure trove of knowledge, waiting for someone capable of understanding it. Inside, holographic panels floated in the air, displaying languages, symbols, and star maps older than any human history. Adrian's engineering mind worked quickly, deciphering patterns, recognizing structures, and connecting dots. The ship assisted silently, pulsing with energy as it aligned his thoughts with the archive's logic. As he explored, he found records of battles where humans had once been underestimated but had achieved impossible victories. Alien fleets had dismissed small human colonies, assuming weakness. Yet humans had used ingenuity, cunning, and courage to outmaneuver them. The ship displayed these victories in vivid holographic simulations. Adrian felt pride swell in his chest. Humans were more capable than the galaxy gave them credit for, and now he was part of a lineage proving that truth. But the moment of awe was interrupted. Alarms flared. Another fleet had arrived at the edge of the nebula, more organized, more advanced than the previous one. This time they were prepared. Their weapons pulsed with energy designed to penetrate the ship's defenses. Adrian's mind raced. He could feel the ship tense, almost anxious, as if warning him of the challenge ahead. "All right," he muttered. "Let's show them what humans can do." He initiated a sequence of maneuvers that no alien would anticipate. The ship bent space, manipulated gravity, and shifted energy in ways that seemed impossible. Adrian's instincts guided every move, improvising as the fleet responded. One by one, the alien ships were forced to retreat, unable to predict or counter the combination of human intuition and alien technology. Hours later, the battle ended. The nebula was quiet once more. Adrian leaned back in the control chamber, exhausted but exhilarated. He had discovered the ship's secrets, outsmarted a fleet of advanced alien ships, and realized something profound. Humans were not weak. They were unpredictable, ingenious, courageous. The ship pulsed around him, almost approvingly. It had chosen well. Together they could explore, defend, and perhaps even reshape the galaxy's understanding of humanity. Adrian allowed himself a rare moment of wonder. He had inherited more than a vessel. He had inherited a legacy, a weapon, and a teacher, all in one. As he gazed at the nebula outside, he understood the full scope of their journey ahead. The galaxy would not take him lightly now. But with the ship by his side and his own mind at the helm, Adrian felt a sense of purpose and determination unlike anything he had ever known. The ship's lights pulsed gently, guiding him toward a hidden exit from the nebula. Beyond it lay uncharted space, ancient human colonies, and alien territories that had long dismissed humanity. Adrian smiled, feeling the weight of responsibility, but also the thrill of adventure. Somewhere deep within the vessel, a pulse echoed his own heartbeat. Together, they were not just a human and a ship, they were a force the galaxy had never expected. And Adrian Cole, human engineer, felt that for the first time in his life he was exactly where he was meant to be. The stars outside the colossal ship shimmered like a sea of diamonds. Adrian Cole stood in the central control chamber staring at the holographic map that stretched across the room. Alien fleets still lingered near the nebula's edge, regrouping after their failed attempts to stop him. But this time, he was ready. He had learned the ship's secrets, discovered its capabilities, and, more importantly, understood his own role. "This ends now," he muttered. His fingers moved instinctively over the controls, calling forth systems that even he had only begun to explore. The ship pulsed in response, almost like it understood the gravity of what was about to happen. Together, they were not just a human and a vessel. They were a force that could challenge entire civilizations. The first wave of alien ships approached, sleek and dangerous, their weapons calibrated to pierce any conventional shield. But Adrian had already predicted their strategies. He activated the ship's advanced systems, bending light and gravity to create illusions, misdirections, and traps. The aliens fired, but their attacks scattered harmlessly across warped space. Adrian's mind raced. The ship communicated with him not in words, but in feelings, images, and pulses of energy. Together, they calculated maneuvers, energy flows, and tactical strategies at speeds no human or alien could normally achieve. It was more than teamwork. It was symphony. Every pulse of the ship's energy, every instinctive decision Adrian made, harmonized into something unstoppable. He diverted energy to propulsion, twisting the ship through the nebulous clouds. Gravity fields bent, creating whirlpools that drew enemy ships off course. Light refracted in impossible patterns, blinding sensors. And then, with a subtle gesture, he triggered the ship's most secret weapon, a fold in space that could relocate them instantly across vast distances. The aliens reeled. They had never seen tactics like this, never imagined a human capable of wielding such a vessel. Their formations collapsed, one by one, as the ship struck and withdrew in ways that defied conventional physics. Adrian smiled. Humans had always been underestimated. Today they would be respected. But this victory was only the beginning. The ship pulsed urgently, guiding him toward an ancient human colony hidden in the shadows of a distant star system. It was a settlement thought, lost to history, its people isolated and unaware of the galaxy's larger conflicts. Adrian understood the importance of reaching them before the alien fleets could interfere. They could serve as allies, or simply witnesses to humanity's resurgence. As they approached, sensors detected automated defenses around the colony, remnants of old alien systems designed to protect or isolate it. Adrian's mind worked rapidly, improvising solutions. He manipulated the ship's energy fields to bypass the barriers, bending space just enough to slip through undetected. The colony's inhabitants watched in awe as the massive vessel emerged from the void, its hull glowing softly, alive with intelligence. "Humans," Adrian whispered, realizing the weight of what he was about to do. This was not just about surviving. It was about proving that humans could rise, even in a galaxy that had dismissed them. He activated a broadcast system, sending a signal across nearby sectors. It was not a threat nor a plea. It was a declaration. Humanity was capable, ingenious, and united with technology beyond expectation. Alien fleets intercepted the message, confusion and disbelief spreading through their ranks. Humans, a species they had long ignored, now commanded a starship capable of outmaneuvering fleets, bending space, and surviving attacks that would have destroyed most civilizations. The aliens hesitated, and that hesitation was all Adrian needed. He initiated a sequence of maneuvers that drew them into the nebula's natural traps. Ionized clouds, gravity distortions, and energy fields combined with the ship's intelligence to scatter the enemy forces. Within hours, the fleets were in disarray, forced to retreat or risk annihilation. The galaxy had witnessed the impossible. A human, commanding a living starship, outmatching an entire armada. Adrian allowed himself a moment of triumph, but the ship pulsed urgently again, reminding him that the journey was not over. Together they moved to explore the hidden systems, reaching other human colonies scattered across distant stars. Each colony reacted with awe and fear at the sight of the colossal vessel. Adrian broadcast messages of guidance offering knowledge, protection, and encouragement. Humans, long hidden and underestimated, now had a symbol of hope and ingenuity. In the quiet moments, Adrian walked through the ship's corridors, touching the walls and consoles. The vessel responded with gentle pulses, almost like a heartbeat. It had chosen him not just to fight or explore, but to lead. Its intelligence complemented his own, amplifying his human ingenuity into something far greater than the sum of its parts. He paused in the command chamber, staring at the vast holographic map of the galaxy. Star systems stretched in every direction, each with its own secrets, dangers, and opportunities. The alien fleets would recover, other civilizations would notice, and the challenges ahead would be greater than anything he had faced. But Adrian felt no fear. He had learned to trust himself, to trust the ship, and to trust humanity's potential. "Humans," he whispered, "you're stronger than anyone ever gave you credit for." The ship pulsed in response, projecting a series of images. Humans exploring new worlds, inventing, fighting, and surviving in ways no alien could predict. Adrian realized that this was only the beginning. The vessel was a tool, a guide, and a partner, but the true power lay in humans themselves, their creativity, courage, and determination. Over the following weeks, Adrian led the ship through uncharted space, discovering lost colonies, hidden resources, and ancient technologies. The galaxy began to notice. Aliens, once dismissive of humanity, now approached with caution and respect. Traders and explorers whispered tales of the human who commanded the living starship, of feats that no one thought possible. In one encounter, an alien diplomat approached Adrian, offering terms of alliance and requesting guidance. Adrian considered the offer, realizing the potential for humanity to shape the galaxy not through conquest, but through ingenuity, leadership, and the intelligent use of the ship's capabilities. He accepted cautiously, knowing that humans had been underestimated for too long, but also aware that the journey ahead would require vigilance, wisdom, and courage. As the ship glided through the void, Adrian reflected on how far he had come. From a struggling engineer, barely scraping by, to the commander of a living starship capable of altering the balance of power in the galaxy. He had proven, in his own way, that humans were more than anyone had imagined. The corridors hummed softly around him, alive with energy and purpose. The ship had chosen well, and together they had begun a new chapter for humanity. The galaxy had witnessed the rise of a species it had long underestimated, guided by a human mind and a vessel of unimaginable power. Adrian smiled, leaning back in the control chair, eyes on the endless stars. The alien fleets, the hidden colonies, the ancient relics, all of it was now part of his responsibility. And yet he felt exhilaration, not fear. Humans had always adapted, overcome, and risen above challenges that seemed impossible. Now, with the living ship at his command, he could lead them to heights the galaxy had never expected. The last thing Adrian saw before resting was a projection of the ship itself, pulsating softly. It was more than metal, more than circuits. It was alive, aware, and ready for whatever lay ahead. Together they had reshaped the galaxy's perception of humanity. And together they would continue to explore, defend, and inspire, proving that humans, no matter how underestimated, could rise above any challenge. For Adrian Cole, the galaxy was no longer a place of limits or fear. It was a canvas, waiting for humanity to leave its mark. And with the living starship by his side, there was no limit to what they could achieve. Somewhere deep within the vessel, a pulse echoed his own heartbeat. It was a rhythm of trust, partnership, and boundless possibility. Humanity's rise had begun, and the galaxy would never forget it.